For centuries, the ocean has concealed nightmares far beyond human comprehension. The legends of the deep whisper of creatures beyond our wildest fears. Colossal entities that have ruled the abyss since time immemorial. One such entity, the Leviathan, is the most fearsome of all. Ancient texts, sailor accounts, and forgotten folklore speak of this unimaginable beast. A monstrous sea serpent, an apocalyptic behemoth whose movements alone could send tsunamis crashing onto distant shores. The mere thought of it lurking beneath our fragile world has haunted the minds of seafarers for millennia. But what if the Leviathan isn't just a myth? What if it is real, stirring from its ancient slumber, and its return is being heralded by something chilling? For decades, marine biologists have puzzled over a disturbing pattern. Oarfish, enormous, eerie, and otherworldly deep-sea creatures, surfacing unexpectedly, sometimes in large numbers. Traditionally found thousands of feet below the surface, these massive, ribbon-like fish belong to a part of the ocean we know less about than the surface of the moon. Their presence near shores has long been considered an omen, one that precedes earthquakes, tsunamis, and other natural calamities. But what if there is something far worse than seismic activity driving them to the surface? What if something enormous is shifting beneath the abyss, displacing the ancient residents of the deep? What if the Leviathan is awakening? Oarfish warning. Signs of the beast. In 2013, two gigantic oarfish, each more than 15 feet long, washed up on the shores of California in quick succession. Scientists, while cautious, could not ignore the disturbing coincidence. Mere days later, a powerful 6.6 magnitude earthquake struck the region. Locals, however, whispered a different theory. These weren't just random deep-sea dwellers surfacing due to tectonic movements. They were fleeing something enormous, something terrifying. Since then, oarfish sightings have surged across the globe. Japan, the Philippines, Mexico, Chile. Everywhere these ghostly creatures have been spotted, an unsettling truth has emerged. They are being forced upward. But by what? Oarfish, unlike most sea creatures, have an unusually long, sensitive lateral line, a biological sonar capable of detecting vibrations and disturbances in the water. They can perceive the subtlest shifts in their environment long before humans ever notice. If they are surfacing, it is because something is disturbing the depths in ways we cannot yet understand. And now, the unthinkable possibility has arisen. What if the cause is something even more catastrophic than an earthquake? The Leviathan, a legend too terrifying to be myth. The Leviathan has existed in myth and folklore for thousands of years. Nearly every ancient civilization has a version of this monstrous beast. In the Hebrew Bible, the Leviathan is described as an unspeakable horror, a creature so vast that it coils around the world, waiting to bring about the end of days. In Norse mythology, the Midgard serpent, also known as Jormungandr, is said to be so large that it encircles the earth, destined to rise from the ocean depths and trigger Ragnarok, the apocalypse. Ancient mariners, from the Vikings to the Polynesians, spoke of a great sea dragon, a creature that only surfaced once in 1,000 years to feed and destroy. The descriptions, though separated by oceans and time, bear eerie similarities. A colossal, scaled monster with an insatiable hunger. A being that slumbers for centuries before awakening to wreak havoc. A creature so large, its very movements reshape the ocean itself. And now, the question arises. What if these ancient myths were warnings, not mere stories? What if something monstrous truly lies beneath the waves, waking once more? The deep-sea expedition that saw too much. In 2023, a private deep-sea research team ventured into the Mariana Trench, the deepest point on Earth. Their mission was to explore the abyss using state-of-the-art submersibles. They were expecting strange and alien creatures. What they weren't expecting was terror. For the first few hours, everything proceeded as planned. The submersible descended deeper than any before, capturing footage of previously unseen species. Then, suddenly, something changed. The lights flickered. The sonar, previously clear, began returning strange, distorted readings. Something massive was moving in the dark. And then the cameras caught it. A colossal shadow, nearly a mile beneath the surface, moving with slow, deliberate power. It was there for only a moment, but that moment was enough. The submersible's crew described a massive, undulating shape, larger than any known creature. Its scales shimmered unnaturally in the submersible's lights before it vanished into the abyss. Then came the sounds. A deep, guttural, resonating noise, so low it shook the vessel. Panic set in. The submersible rapidly ascended, abandoning the mission. The team, shaken and terrified, returned to the surface with blurry, fragmented footage. Too unclear to be conclusive, but enough to confirm their worst fears. Something was down there, and it was moving. The final warning: why the oarfish are fleeing. In the months following the expedition, oarfish began appearing with greater frequency. But there was something different about them now. They were injured. Deep, gaping wounds, as if something had slashed them with colossal claws or crushed them between titanic jaws. Some had missing chunks of flesh, their bodies bearing marks of something enormous and predatory. Something is hunting in the abyss. And whatever it is, it's powerful enough to terrify creatures that have lived in the deep for millennia. If the Leviathan has truly awakened, the oarfish are its first victims. And we may be next. The Leviathan prophecy, the terrifying signs of its return. The ocean has always hidden its greatest nightmares beneath an endless abyss. And now, something ancient is stirring. We've spoken of the oarfish, deep-sea creatures that have long been considered harbingers of disaster. But what if their recent alarming surfacings are only a small part of something much bigger? What if there are other signs that point to the return of the Leviathan? The lost crew of the deep horizon, a mysterious vanishing. The world's oceans have swallowed ships, submarines, and entire crews without a trace. While some vanish due to storms or technical failures, some disappearances defy all logic. One such case is that of Deep Horizon, a private deep-sea exploration vessel that set out in 2017 to study an uncharted region of the Pacific. What makes this case particularly disturbing is that it wasn't just lost. Something took it. The mission was meant to last 3 weeks. The crew was composed of top-tier marine biologists and engineers, armed with cutting-edge equipment. They had successfully mapped unexplored trenches, sending back extraordinary images of creatures never before seen by science. Then, one night, all transmissions ceased. At first, Mission Control assumed a technical failure, but as hours turned into days with no distress signal, no emergency beacon, and no contact whatsoever, search operations were launched. They found nothing, not even debris. It was as if the entire vessel had been dragged into oblivion. The only clue left behind was the final, chilling audio transmission from the crew. A fragment of sound, sent moments before they vanished. It's here. It's impossible. God help it. Static. Then silence. To this day, no trace of the Deep Horizon has ever been found. But here's what makes the case even more terrifying. Days after their disappearance, oarfish began surfacing all along the Pacific Rim. And once again, they bore deep, fresh wounds. Had they witnessed something? Had they seen what took the Deep Horizon? Or worse, had they barely escaped it? The fishermen who never returned. In early 2024, a small fishing village in the Philippines was shaken by an event that defies explanation. A group of experienced fishermen, men who had spent their entire lives on the sea, ventured out one night, as they had done countless times before. The ocean was calm. The night, uneventful. Then they vanished. Their boats were later found, drifting miles away from where they had set off, completely intact. But the men were gone. No signs of a struggle, no evidence of drowning, no blood, no bodies. Just silent, abandoned boats. The village elders whispered of the Bakunawa, an ancient sea dragon spoken of in Filipino myth, a great serpent that devours anything that enters its domain. But younger fishermen had another theory. They pointed to the oarfish that had washed up just days before. The same pattern, over and over. Oarfish appear, then people disappear. The deep was reclaiming something. Or perhaps, someone had awoken. The monster off the coast of Chile. If the Leviathan is real, then there must be evidence beyond myths and disappearances. And there is. In 2018, an oil rig stationed off the coast of Chile reported seeing something enormous rise from the water. At first, workers assumed it was a whale breaching, until they realized that it wasn't breathing. It was coiling. One worker, who later quit his job and refused to go near the ocean again, described it. It was a mountain of scales, a wall of shifting flesh. I saw a single eye, massive and dark, staring right at us. We all froze. Then it dove, pulling the sea with it. The entire rig trembled. That same week, a dozen oarfish appeared on the nearby shores. Scientists dismissed the incident. They called it a mistaken sighting. But those who were there, they knew. Something old, something vast, something that should not exist, had made itself known. And it had seen them too. The final sign, a message from the deep. In 2023, a team of marine researchers picked up a mysterious sound deep within the Pacific. The frequency was low, guttural, and impossibly powerful, like a beast breathing beneath the waves. They called it the deep roar. But here's what makes it horrifying. It wasn't just a random noise. It repeated. Every few hours it would sound again, like a heartbeat, or worse, like something calling out. The final question, is humanity prepared? We have always believed ourselves to be the rulers of this planet, the masters of the land and sea. But the ocean is not ours. It never was. In its darkest corners, creatures older than humanity stir in the cold abyss, beyond the reach of our technology and understanding. We do not belong there. And now, as oarfish rise in terror and the depths tremble with unseen movements, we must ask ourselves, has the Leviathan truly awakened? And if it has, what does it want? And how long do we have left? The deep is watching. The Leviathan stirs. Are you ready?